the seas, call for songs about his praise. Teach me some melodious song, if I'm flaming tongues above. Praise thy mountain fixed upon it, mount of redeeming love. Oh, 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 and here I raise my Ebenezer, hither by thy help I come, and I hope by thy good pleasure safely to arrive at home. Jesus sought me when a stranger, wandering from the fold of God. He to rescue me from danger, interpose his precious love. Yeah. Oh, 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 to grace, how great a debtor daily I'm constrained to be. Let thy goodness, like a fetter, bind my wandering heart to thee. Let's just wait right there. I don't know where you came from this morning, what you came in with, maybe what you're struggling with, what you're excited about. But there's something about knowing that when you walk in this room, there's people with you, there's people for you, there's people singing along with you, that there's a beautiful song on our hearts, there's a beautiful song on heaven's heart, that the world is a better place because we're here together singing the same song together. So I want to invite every single one of you, whether if you're able, if you're willing, if this song is for you, if it's speaking to you in any way, sing it out with all that you got. Come on, let's sing together. And oh, to grace, how great a debtor daily I'm constrained to be. Let thy goodness, like a fetter, bind my heart to thee. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it. Prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, Lord, take and seal it for thy courts. Here's my heart, Lord, take and seal it for thy courts above. Here's my heart, Lord, take and seal it for thy courts above. Here's my heart, Lord, take and seal it for thy courts above. Whoa, 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 to leave the God I love. doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. Come on, help me out. Sing that together. Come on, my fear. Yeah, my fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. I'm standing in your love. Come on, sing this out. When darkness tries to roll over my bones, when sorrow comes to steal the joy I hold, when brokenness and pain is all I know, oh, I won't be shaken, I won't be shaken. Yeah, my fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. Yeah. Shame no longer, and shame no longer has a place to hide. Oh, I am not a captive to the lies. Oh, no, no, I'm not afraid to leave my past behind. Oh, I won't be shaken, I won't be shaken. Yeah, my fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. Yeah, there's power that can break off every chain. There's power that can empty out the grave. Yeah, there's resurrection power that can save. There's power in your name, power in your name. There's power that can break off every chain. There's power that can empty out the grave. There's resurrection power that can save. There's power in your name, power in your name. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. Yeah, my fear doesn't stand a chance when I. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. Oh, yeah, I'm standing in your love. Yeah, I'm standing in your love. Yeah, I'm standing in your love. mercy triumphs over judgment. My past erased, my fear I'm blameless in your sight. My history written, my past erased, my fear I'm blameless in your sight. My history written, 'cause you delight in showing mercy, and mercy triumphs over judgment. I know that you delight in showing mercy, and mercy triumphs over judgment. Oh, love, great love, fear cannot be found in you, and there will never be a day when you're uncertain, but you love us through, 'cause you delight in showing mercy, and mercy triumphs over judgment. I know that you delight in showing mercy, and mercy triumphs over judgment. Yes, you delight in showing mercy, and mercy triumphs over judgment. I know that you delight in showing mercy, and mercy triumphs over judgment. It's new every morning, so I awake and spend my days loving the one who has raised me up from death to life, from dark to light. You're making all things beautiful. So I awake and spend my days loving the one who has raised me up from death to life, from dark to light. You're making all things beautiful. So I awake and spend my days loving the one who has raised me up from death to life, from dark to light. You're making all things beautiful. So awake and spend my days loving the one who has raised me up from death to life, from dark to light. You're making all things beautiful. 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 'Cause you delight in showing mercy. Mercy triumphs over judgment. I know that you delight in showing mercy, and mercy triumphs over judgment. I know that you delight in showing mercy, and mercy triumphs over judgment. I know that you delight in showing mercy, and mercy mercy triumphs over judgment.
So God, this morning as we sit with your presence, as we connect, as we raise our voices, thank you for reminding us of the mercy that is possible, the mercy that is accessible. God, may we be a community that is changed by grace, and may we be a community that isn't just changed by this grace, but it flows through us into a world that needs the grace that you offer. It's in Christ's name we pray. Amen. Thank you. You can be seated this morning. My name is Matt. I'm the pastor of Watershed. I'm so glad you're here. If you're brand new, if this is your first time, or maybe this is just, the first couple of times, you could not have come at a better time, a better day. There's something that we're going to be exploring and experiencing together here as the morning progresses, and we'll get into that in just a moment. But a couple of things that I want to just make you aware of, and the first thing is a little bit of celebration. How many of you were here last weekend? Shoot a hand up if you were here last weekend. Yeah, so if you weren't here and you haven't had the chance to circle back and either watch it on YouTube, Facebook, or listen to our podcast, just an incredible morning. My wife and I, Donna, had an opportunity to go out to lunch with Jonathan and Blair, who were here with us last weekend. And just on behalf of them, they wanted to express their gratitude for the way that they were engaged and affirmed last weekend. And I wanted to say, as one of the pastors here on staff, thank you as a community for the way that you showed up in this space last week. It was absolutely incredible. I hope you have a chance to, go ahead. You can applaud for yourselves. And then also, just again, thank you for the way that you embraced some of the things that we asked of you as you were leaving this space. The three things were, can you be here more often? That was one of the things. And I wanted to mention this because someone reached out to me this week and brought something to my attention that I thought was so appropriate. And they said, hey, we love being there, but could you be reminded that some folks show up with a little bit of a limp because of the way things might have been handled in previous church environments. And so I just wanted to name that we want you here. We want you here a lot, but we want you here in a way that makes sense for you. We have an online presence that's accessible. That's one of the reasons we have it, is for people who need time to kind of acclimate to community here. We also ask you to get to know someone. Introduce yourself every week. Make that an objective. David Roberts said after last Sunday morning, people were walking up to him introducing themselves. It was really great. He's like, I feel like I know more people now after that. So well done. You didn't even get out of the space before you started actuating that. And then the last thing was, why don't you take some time over the next month and try to get to know one new person, really kind of know who they are. And again, we're going to create opportunities for that to happen. So great first week last week. So much fun. And I can't wait for you to experience this morning. A couple of quick announcements. I'm getting all excited because Preface is getting ready to start. And I think I might have been a little confusing over the last couple of weeks. It begins May 31st. That is a hard date that we're starting. I'm not going to mix up the dates any longer. May 31st, it's 4 Tuesday nights spread over 5 weeks. We're going to take Wednesday nights. Look at me, I'm already messing this up. Wednesday nights, May 31st. We're taking the 14th off because my son's graduating from high school, so I'm going to have to miss that night. But if you're brand new, or if you haven't gone through this in a while and you've been here at Watershed, I really would invite you to do so. You can sign up through the Watershed app, and I think there's a QR code here. There's childcare if that's helpful for you. It's about an hour and a half long, and it's one of the things I totally enjoy doing. It's an onboarding experience where we take a look at your spiritual and religious past and how that begins to integrate into who we are becoming as a community, because that's always the case for us here. And then simultaneous to this, David Roberts is actually going to be doing something called Liberation. Usually he does something called Reclamation. This time it's Liberation. He's going to be looking at the intersection of identity and justice, and he's going to be getting some help from our Kindred community in that. So if you've already gone through preface or you're looking for something that has more of a justice focus this go around, that's a great opportunity as well. And then this Thursday night at Petty Thieves, Leah Robinson, who was here about a month and a half ago, is doing a live book release. It's a book called Bad Theology, and it's about the way theology has been weaponized to marginalize people. A really interesting read. And Tripp Fuller, who is the podcast, who started the podcast, Homebrewed Christianity, has been around for years, is going to be doing a live podcast. It'll be a great time. And again, that's this Thursday night. And Leah and Tripp and Pete Enns are actually going to be here this summer in something called Adult VBS that I think David might have mentioned last week. Thank you, so many of you who continue to make generosity a priority, really, here at Watershed. As we continue to move into the summer and into the fall, we continue to be grateful for all the resources that come our way. We're actually going to, in the weeks ahead, start to talk more openly about how all of this works together and what resources actually do in terms of transformation, in terms of development here in our space and beyond. It's a really exciting conversation. In the meantime, if this is home, we invite you to give, and we invite you to give generously. Every month, we try to bring on at least 5 new households at around $100 or more a month. And if we can see that constant reclamation of resources and have that generated towards our community, it really fuels us in a really powerful way. And so if you haven't thought about doing that, now would be a great time to take that into consideration. There's a QR code that you can give securely through. You can go online at our website to access more opportunities to give. If you work for an organization here in Charlotte, one of the larger organizations, Bank of America, Wells, wherever it might be, often they will do matching programs. As a matter of fact, someone reached out to me recently and said, hey, we just started giving, and literally this is going to double our ability to be generous towards Watershed. There's a little bit of paperwork that you got to do, but you can go on our website, and there's a real easy way to access that as well. Thank you so much for being here today. I just got to tell you, Lewis, how many instruments you playing this morning?
Oh, man.
You got a foot thing going on here. You got the guitar. You got a harmonica in your back pocket. Probably.
We'll pull that out later.
Thank you guys for being here this morning. I really am excited about what you're going to experience, and have a great day. Thanks.
So this morning, before Blair comes up and presents a message to us that I think is timely and appropriate, I want to share something. A few months back, I was preparing to move here, and Kristen and I went through some pretty difficult stuff, the place we were at. And we found ourselves crying on a couch. And it was infuriating, not only that I had my beautiful wife crying on my shoulder, but it felt hopeless that I didn't have a way out of the situation. And in this season, I called Matt and was just very honest with him and told him a little bit of the burden that I was carrying, the situation that we were facing. And Matt, in the most gracious and humble way, said, we'll figure it out. And I've been doing this for a long time, 15 years, and I've never had a person that didn't know me in leadership turn to me and say, we'll figure it out. We got your back, right? And so as we went through this weekend, as you can see, Austin's not here, and we don't have a drummer, and these people were in a situation, and we had to turn to each other and say, I got your back, we'll figure it out. And so that's exactly what we did, and I think this song is perfect for it. And we want to invite you into that space. We want to invite you into a space that says, hey, you're in good hands. So when you sing this, sing it for hope. When you sing this, sing it for yourself. When you sing this, sing it like I needed to sing it that somebody else may have sung it to me. You know, when I called Matt, this was the song on his heart. So it's a little goofy, it's a little fun, but I think you'll know it, and we'll sing it together. Is that cool with you? All right. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, hey.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow. But if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow.
Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Yeah. Please swallow your pride if I have things you need to borrow, for no one can fill you those of your needs that you won't let show. Lean on me when you're not strong, I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Yeah, just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on.
If there is a load you have to bear that you can't carry, I'm right up the road and I'll share your load if you just call me.
Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you
Carry on,
yeah, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean. Just call, come on. Oh, just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on, and I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong, when you're not strong. And I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on.
Hi, good morning. My name is Blair, for those who don't know me, and I work with our kids and our students here. So usually I'm not with the grown-ups. You guys have heard me say that before. But I thought I would kind of give you a little bit of background knowledge about me from the eyes of two fourth graders that we have. They surprised me a few weeks ago by writing a little acrostic poem about me. So, yeah, so I kind of combined them. I chose the one I like the best, basically. So I didn't do any of the bad ones. I just did the good qualities. But B, brilliant. Yeah, brilliant. Exactly. Loving. A fabulous teacher. They skipped the I because apparently I don't have an I in my name. And then R is really funny. Really funny. And then E, which they added, so they took my I and they gave me an E, is elegant. So yeah. So for those who don't know, there's actually more than 100 people that are either under us right now or in that hallway. And they are part of our community as well, even though they don't sit in this room with us on a Sunday. And I tell you this because you need to know that I have some pretty high expectations of a Sunday morning. They're my favorite day of the week for anybody that knows me. So I'm going to need for you guys to keep up with the little people. So good luck. So for those who it's your first Sunday, or maybe you haven't been in a while, we are a community that is quirky and passionate and kind and hopeful. And that's what we're focused on in this series, is hope. Just last Sunday, one of our amazing middle schoolers gave me this drawing, and I feel like it's pretty accurate. It's a great representation of who Watershed is. This also was unprompted. And I love that our younger Watershedders love their church too. And they are some humans that are full of beautiful stories. Stories have power. And we are a world that loves story, right? Some of you might have watched TikTok this morning. You read Humans of New York, Facebook, Instagram, podcast. All of these are the ways that we are constantly engaging in story. There's even a website where people can record and share their stories. It's called storycourse.org. Did anybody know this? I just found out about this. And Watershed is a place that is no different. We love and value stories here as well, which brings me back to the drawing that our middle schooler drew. What you don't see on this paper is the story of this middle schooler. You don't see how their family is redefining the norms that they've always known. You don't see how their deep love for others affects them on a daily basis. You don't see how their heart lights up whenever they get to help with anything at all. And you don't see how they just recently started praying and journaling every night because they wanted to feel a little more connected to God. So when I see this drawing, I think about those things: the happiness, the love, the acceptance, and the joy. And I feel like those are some of the most important things that our community brings to them. So there's an abundance of beauty in this 11, almost 12-year-old story. And if you were here last week, you know that that's not the only Watershed story. But Matt actually shared a really, really big story with us last week. It was a story that disrupted and shifted our entire community, a story of painful exclusion that ended with changed hearts and minds, a story of a different world that is being created, a world that wonderfully welcomes all. Mark Yaconelli, who is storyteller, author, and activist, says that stories can be medicine and they can transform entire communities. Sharing stories helps us make a home within ourselves and with one another. And last week's story that Matt shared was all of that and more. If you've ever listened to me talk before, then you know that I love stories and data. And my goal in life is to be a story collector, which I think is really just a data collector at this point. I want to be a great listener that collects stories, not to just get to know others better, but to actually join their story, not to suppress or erase it, not to redirect it, but to share in their story and to weave together a bigger story of this splendidly difficult journey that we're all on together. Dr. Willie James Jennings, who was a longtime professor at Duke Divinity School and is now currently a systematic theology professor at Yale, says that we don't know the story that we're inside of. And I think at Heart for Christians, that's where all of our problems begin. We have become very poor storytellers and very poor listeners to story. And I'm finding that I come to agree with him more and more. So as a pastor and a leader of this organization and community, I want to start with the bigger story today. I want to start with the one that involves God, Jesus, and the Spirit. The story started long ago and involved lots of empires choosing power over people, but also beautiful moments of healing and love and reconciliation. It's a story of humanity joining the stories of each other. It's a nevertheless moment where, in spite of our stories, our different beliefs, hopes, fears, dreams, we still have the option to join into what God is asking us to do. And what is God asking us to do? Well, I'm glad you asked. I want to look at the book of Acts this morning. Acts is an exciting book. Most of you, if you grew up in church, you probably heard it as the formation of the church. It's the book that tells us what the church is supposed to be. It puts us, humanity, directly in the middle of this church that it's describing, because there's a new team that's being created here. It's a new team, a new humanity in this idea of people being together in ways that were just unimaginable at that point. It's about coming deep into each other's story and lives, not just coming up to someone and saying, "Hi, how are you?" and then parting as soon as possible. But it's deeper than that. It's about the possibility of a life together. From the beginning of the book of Acts, we see people who are asking God for power to get the boot of Rome off its neck. Then we see God give them power when the Holy Spirit comes on you. And you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem, in all of Judea and Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. And this power is not power over people like they expected. It's power for the people. And the power of that seems to be this idea of difference. The idea not only of difference culturally, but then sort of this division between Jew and Gentile that's there. And so when we are talking about the possibility of life together, there's this whole thing where we have to overcome the divisions and walls that separate us. It's an imagining of a new world that's not congruent, but accepting and celebratory of all of our differences. Dr. Jennings says there are two questions we should ask when we read the book of Acts. The first is, what is the Spirit doing in this chapter? And question number two is, who is God asking to do something? So knowing this, I want us to take a look at the story of Philip and the Ethiopian eunuch in Acts chapter 8. Later, God's angel spoke to Philip. At noon today, I want you to walk over to that desolate road that goes from Jerusalem down to Gaza. He got up and went. He met an Ethiopian eunuch coming down the road. The eunuch had been on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem and was returning to Ethiopia, where he was minister in charge of all the finances of Candace, queen of the Ethiopians. He was riding in a chariot and reading the prophet Isaiah. The Spirit told Philip, "Climb into the chariot." Running up alongside Philip, heard the eunuch reading Isaiah and asked, "Do you understand what you're reading?" He answered, "How can I without some help?" and invited Philip into the chariot with him. The passage he was reading was this: "As a sheep led to slaughter and quiet as a lamb being sheared, he was silent, saying nothing. He was mocked and put down, never got a fair trial. But who now can count his kin, since he's been taken from the earth?" The eunuch said, "Tell me, who is the prophet talking about, himself or some other?" Philip grabbed his chance, used the passage as his text, and preached Jesus to him. As they continued down the road, they came to a stream of water. The eunuch said, "Here's water. Why can't I be baptized?" He ordered the chariot to stop. They both went down to the water, and Philip baptized him on the spot. When they came up out of the water, the Spirit of God suddenly took Philip off, and that was the last the eunuch saw of him. But he didn't mind. He had what he'd come for and went on down the road as happy as he could be. Philip showed up in Azotus and continued north, preaching the message in all the villages along the route until he had arrived at Caesarea. So here we have Philip being pushed by the Spirit to a place in the wilderness. It says it was a desolate road. And to a person that Philip would not have typically encountered. And he's not real suave about it, you know. It says the Spirit was pushy. It says the Spirit of God told Philip to climb into the chariot. So in our day, we'll say he wasn't just trying to slide into their DMs, but he just invited himself right in. So he runs to join him in the chariot, and he joins himself to someone who is at the very outer possibility of Jewish life and Jewish faithfulness to God. An Ethiopian from what's at the time would be known as someone from the very ends of the earth. A eunuch, castrated and ineffectual. Someone who was at the very boundaries of identity, and someone who would have never have been expected to be the central part of the story of Israel. And here in this story, we see God organize aggressively a moment of joining together. You guys, we are in the wilderness. I don't know about you, but I got a notification this week to let me know that the U.S. is facing an epidemic of loneliness and isolation. It is said that approximately 60% of Americans feel disconnected, lonely, and left out. I don't think I have to point out that that's a breeding ground for disaster. And what's the proposed solution? It's creating a culture of real connection. Kind of sounds like what's happening in this story, right? The Spirit is aggressively pushing Philip to engage and spend time to join in on the story of the eunuch. And the Spirit is aggressively pushing us to join in on the stories of each other. Because just like the eunuch trying to understand this story in Isaiah, join the club, we can't understand stories without other people, because we can't understand without the fullness of the story. We can't understand Scripture without each other, and we can't understand the evolution of our world without each other either. And this lack of understanding means that we can't imagine or create a different world that truly embodies the fullness of humanity. We love to learn and unlearn here at Watershed. We love it. You guys heard about liberation. Some of you have been to Reclamation. We are a community that are little sponges that love to soak up all the information that we can. David, our formation pastor, is so stinking good at pushing us and prodding us to a place of questioning and eagerness to learn. He's full of resources and knowledge that create the perfect soil for reclamation, transformation, and liberation to grow. But I want to ask you today, who are you learning and growing for? Your reconstruction is not just for you. And if you are only soaking in information, you're not learning and you're not rebuilding or reconstructing anything. As much as I like to learn alongside of you, I've really been challenged lately to go back to the basics of learning. Learning is a multi-step process. It starts with some kind of prior knowledge, some news that's exciting or disrupting, and then there's an information gathering stage, but then you have to apply it. It's like the scientific method. People can make observations and hypothetical statements all day, but without data and proof, it's lacking. My point here is that we can show up and listen to information all day long, but without using it with real people, there's nothing there. And the goal for learning here is not a certainty, but it's actually imagining and creating a different world. We need the information and the story collecting. We need the connection that's deeper than just a hi and a hello. We need to join into other stories. We need to tell our stories. We need to go to and enter the ends of the earth, and we need to let the ends of the earth enter us. We need life together with insiders and outsiders and all the in-between. And we need this life together for a few reasons. The first is so that we don't die early, because real connection does this thing to our brain where this stuff fires and makes us happier and better humans. Super scientific, right? No, but really, endorphins, oxytocin, all kinds of natural, beautiful chemicals flood the brain, and our limbic system calms down. Our guard is down whenever we connect, and we're actually able to listen because we are more emotionally organized at that point. Not to mention the benefits of a strengthened immune system, and it speeds up neuroplasticity, which is the ability for your brain to grow and reorganize what's already there. The second reason we need life together is because we feel like we're the misfit toys sometimes. During adolescence, loneliness is a real thing. When you're a teenager, the way that you perceive your relationship to others and the ones that you wish you had are life-changing to you. And I think that we as a society, as a whole, have kind of been pushed back into that teenager boat. Post-pandemic, I hear so many people that say that they miss doing life with each other. Yes, it was chaos. Yes, your plates were full. Yes, we were all so happy for just a breath. But I think that people are missing the fact that they felt like they were known and they felt like they were loved well. Now add in that we're trying to be a spiritual community that includes all without apology, and that can be even more isolating. Being in the Bible Belt doesn't help that much. And this story of the eunuch ends with the baptism, the first baptism in Luke. Baptism, these waters that connect us as this new humanity. And it's of a black, genderless man who never said the Lord's Prayer, never asked Jesus to come into his heart, and he still was baptized without question. If that's not a story of inclusion, I don't know what is. Everyone is invited to be part of this new humanity. The third reason that life together is important is so that we don't develop blind spots. We are overwhelmed by stories with clickbait headlines. It's easy to take those stories and claim them as the most popular voice out there. It's the most popular point of view. But life is not a monolithic experience. Doing life together and collecting stories helps us to have a range of real, raw, and vulnerable data. One of my favorite children's books is a story that pushes our view on the Three Little Pigs. You know that story, right? It's about three pigs who build their houses of different materials, and then this big bad wolf shows up and blows down the first two pigs' houses, but is unable to destroy the third pig's house. Now, I don't know about you, but this story kind of shaped my view on pigs and wolves. Still recovering from that a little bit. But I always wondered, what was the wolf thinking? And somebody must have heard me because they wrote a book about it. So I don't know if you've ever read or heard of the true story of the Three Little Pigs, but it is actually the perspective of the wolf. And I just want to tell you this morning that he said he was not there to eat them, but he just had bad allergies. And he needed to borrow a cup of sugar to make his granny a cake. And so he just kept sneezing, and then the pigs were just there. So he ate a snack while he was on his way. It's so easy to get lost in stories that are purposefully and manipulatively thrown into our faces, instead of listening to our own neighbors and collecting our own data. But context and experience leads to the fullness of the truth. You're welcome. Now you have the fullness of the truth with the Three Little Pigs. I've changed your world today. I could stop here. And I know some of you are pretty cynical of all of this life together stuff as I talk about it, because you know that life together is not peachy, but it's necessary. Discomfort and conflict will run parallel to our connections. But because we have the power of the Spirit, and that power comes with great responsibility, you're going to be asked to do what you don't want to do, to be with those who you prefer not to be. Maybe you tried life together and it was really painful. I get it. I tried over and over and over to have a typical relationship with an alcoholic parent, and it was hard. I got burned over and over and over again. And I was told many times, just let it go, get over it, forgive and forget. And that was no different with Israel. People in this big God story did harm, and they actually meant to do harm most of the time. And people wanted to erase the stories of others completely. It's hard to show up with your story and feel like someone wants to get rid of it to create a new story. That can be tense and painful. Our goal here is not to create one identity, but to imagine a new world that's accepting and celebratory of our differences. Let's collect stories of pain and hurt and joy and hope, and then together create something better. This morning, we want to invite you into an opportunity that we have crafted to bring about hope. We as a community have listened to your stories and your desires and created a space for life together to start. We're calling them regional collectives. A collective is an organization that requires the presence of people in it. Friends, you are Watershed. Without you, we're just another church on the streets of Charlotte. You are necessary to awakening, struggling, and loving together as though a different world is possible today. You are the hope. You bring the hope, and you embody the hope. And to try to make it more accessible and equitable, we organized it by region because traffic, obviously, sports, schedules, work. We know all of those things play a role in your lives because we've listened to your stories. So now we want to invite you into space where you can share those stories with each other and listen to those stories of those around us. And we are aware that Charlotte is still a little bit segregated, so that's the fear in doing things regionally. But we really hope that you will take this opportunity to invite people into that, to show up together. We want it to be intergenerational because your kids need to know each other too. Your teenagers need to know you and everybody else too. So our hope is that there's going to be these tables that are there that are just full of different stories, lenses, life experiences. But guys, there's no table for one. Get out of the wilderness and join in. Jump into the chariot. Enter the ends of the earth and let the ends of the earth enter you. Stay after today. Find your region. There's tables that are set up, and each table has snacks. So if that's not a reason to stay, I don't know what is. We want you to sign up, to meet somebody, to invite other people into this space, and to show up whenever it's time to get together. Be a story collector. Be a listener. Hear the human heart that is crying for release and freedom and peace. Mark Yaconelli says in his new book, Between the Listening and the Telling, that if we listen to people, we can hear them say, "Tell me that I matter. Ask me a good question. Echo back to me what I know. Trust me until I trust myself. Remind me why I love my life. Give me a chance to say I'm sorry. Help me celebrate what is good in the world and what is good in me. Ask me to tell my story." We need each other to embrace the hopelessness and to embody the hopefulness. So Watershed, go be storytellers and story collectors so that we can hope a better world into existence. Now go find your region, get signed up, and talk to each other. Amen.
So you guys are welcome to, as we just play out, you can welcome to get up. Go find your spot. Go find a place that works for you guys. We love you. We're so thankful for each and every one of you. Thank you for being here with us this weekend.